I'm talking to Melanie Dyer, who is a singer-songwriter, a performing artist, and a creator of some of my favorite songs, I have to say. Melanie, lovely to speak to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Sophie. I'm excited to speak to you as well.
Well, congratulations on your new single, which is Cheap Moscato. And I am wondering, I can possibly guess when the idea was sparked for that song, but it'd be great to hear from you when the idea or why the idea came about for that song.
It's a fun one. I mean, the actual concept and the song, the whole chorus just came to me a couple of years ago. And I had this voice memo in my phone just sitting there. And I sort of road tested it a few times at gigs and then I ended up going back to it because I thought, no, people, especially women, ladies who like to drink Moscato, just love it. They love the song. It's fun. I mean, I guess it's about just, like a fun little story of, one glass of wine or one bottle of cheap Moscato turns into a whole sequence of events. And then, the song just kind of steps through it and tells the little story.
When you start off with a spark of an idea like that and then you want to turn it into a story, do you think of that story as having a beginning, middle, and end, or you just tend to sit down and let it flow?
I feel like this song particularly does have a start, middle, and end because it's just so like it literally counts within the lyrics. It's sort of got this clever, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then it starts with one bottle of cheap Moscato, two hopeless hearts on the floor, 3 a.m. turns into 4, sun's coming up 5 minutes more. So it counts backwards and then up again from 5, sort of 1 to 5. Yeah, so I guess in that sense, the song really needed to be quite specific in telling the story and having the top and tail and everything in between pretty much spelt out. So it was different to other songs. I don't always approach it like that.
Right. Well, where it's like your other songs is that you have fantastic country pop sensibilities and they are really evident in the song, but they've also been there from the start, which was your 2015 EP, Lifetime. Do you enjoy writing melodies?
I do. You can probably tell from my songs. It's something that I guess I've just always, I've loved country music and I grew up on sort of more, I guess you'd say traditional country, writing songs about, I literally grew up on a farm and am a country girl in my blood. But I also just had this appreciation for pop music and hooks and writing melodies that just were catchy and got stuck in people's heads. So that's kind of the fusion of me as a songwriter, is meeting somewhere in between those two worlds where I love country and I love pop. And melodies are so fun, and phrasing and, rhymes and rhythms is something that I really pay attention to when I'm trying to create a song for me as an artist.
So which artist did you grow up listening to in both country and pop?
Oh, okay. So country, the greats like Patsy Cline, Trisha Yearwood. I love the Dixie Chicks and Shania Twain, of course. And then I guess I'm gonna put Taylor Swift into the pop side because she's more pop than country to me. And yeah, so Taylor Swift, and I loved Avril Lavigne. I was like a diehard Avril Lavigne fan, Maroon 5, all those just great pop acts that had massive, catchy songs. I just loved it.
And also great entertainers, I think, is a common theme with them. So when you were little, were you thinking about becoming a performer?
Yeah, I guess I was. I grew up sort of in a small town, and I remember watching, the school spectacular on TV as a kid, on the ABC network, and seeing all these performers in all these amazing costumes and dancers and singers and, instrumentalists on stage in, the Sydney Entertainment Centre performing. And I was so lucky that I actually got to do that in my, high school years. I was in school spectacular. So I went from watching it on TV to being a part of it. And I just fell in love with that, being on stage and the feeling that you get from, sharing a pretty crazy, magical moment with an audience. Like, it's not like anything else.
Yeah. I would imagine, I haven't been in a school spectacular, but I have watched them on TV and they are pretty extraordinary, just the number of people involved.
Yeah, for sure.
So at what age did you start singing?
I mean, I started as far back as I can remember. I've always been singing. I actually have, I have a song called "All You Need to Know About Me" and a music video, and you can actually see some footage of me as a kid in that music video. And it's just my nana used to film me singing, and I'm like this tiny little, probably 3-year-old, like singing songs, and that's it kind of just came from there. But officially, I guess, on stage, I picked up a guitar when I was 11 and wrote my first song and performed that from that age. So it's been a long time.
Do you think you'd been were songs in your mind even before you picked up the guitar? Like, did you have little lines that you'd sing to yourself?
Oh, for sure. I actually used to sort of rewrite and mash together songs, kid songs, like Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'd mash it in with something else and change the lyrics. And I didn't know I was doing that, of course, at the time, but we have, footage of me doing that as a kid. So I guess I was always, creating in that way. And it sort of came to me. But I guess songwriting, I didn't know I could actually write a song until I was doing an audition. I think it was for the School Spectacular, just to go back to that. And one of the ladies on the panel said to me, "Oh, you should try out for the Talent Development Project," which is this New South Wales education program for singers and songwriters. And she said, "But you can't audition until you write a song." And she set me a task. And I did it, and I went home. I flew back from Sydney to the farm, and I wrote a song the next day. And that was the real turning point where I figured out actually that I could write songs.
Right. That possibly suggests also that you like a deadline. Are you one of those people who likes writing to a deadline?
I'm terrible at time management, so deadlines is not my thing from a business point of view. But as a creative, I love a challenge, and I love crafting something and creating something from scratch. And I love collaborating with other people in doing that as well. But I think, and that's probably going back to Cheap Moscato, that's probably one of the most crafted, I guess, songs that I've sort of put together in that sense. And I just really enjoy the challenge.
Yeah, because as you were saying, the structure of it is unusual, but it's so tightly done as well, but without it sounding overly polished, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And I know you also write with other artists, and I think you have some co-writers on your songs, but for example, you wrote Bring It Back with Amber Lawrence. So how do those relationships form where you start to write with other recording artists?
I've known personally Amber for a very long time. So we sort of, just have been friends in the industry forever. And we'd really not written together much at all. A few songs over the years, but she approached me last year during COVID, and we were all writing on Zoom. And she said, "Let's do a Zoom. I've got this idea." We were feeling like music has just been so, hit the hardest. And she wanted to write this, bring it back, as in bring back the music and the festivals and everything that we're missing. And I was so into the idea. It was great. And we just smashed that song out over Zoom, in a couple of hours. And it's done really well for it. It's amazing to hear, something that you've created with somebody else as well, and not have yourself singing it. It's nice to hear somebody else, flying the flag for something that you've been a part of.
Are there other songs you've written for artists that you have not recorded?
I have so many songs that I know aren't for me. The thing is, as a songwriter, you kind of just write, and sometimes you just know you're never going to sing it, but one day you hope that somebody else will. So I've got a whole stack of, I guess, a catalogue of songs. But lately I've had, sort of other artists coming to me saying, "I've got an idea. Can you help me bring it to life?" And I've been doing a lot of co-writing, for other artists like Sammy White and Bryce Sainty, and of course did the song for Amber. And I'm loving, being more open to that now that I've kind of, released who I am as an artist and put that out there as a singer-songwriter. And now I can kind of, dip my toes into other areas and extend, I guess, my song approach to songwriting as well.
I'm interested that you say there are songs that just aren't for you to record, because it suggests you've arrived at a place where you trust that there will always be more ideas, so you don't have to hoard anything you've come up with.
Totally. And that happens. It really does. I feel like there was a time when I felt a little more precious about everything I wrote, and it has to be for me, or I will release it one day. But I don't know, after writing so many songs over the years, yeah, there's never a shortage of ideas and concepts. And the more you go out and live your life and experience it, the more ideas, that come, and the more relationships you build, and you'll always have something. But yeah, I've got a whole stack of songs that I wish I could just, pick people to sing them, call them up and say, hey, I've got a song for you. But it doesn't work like that.
I think it's also an acknowledgement that even if you're the one recording the songs, once they've left your pen or left the recording studio, or they're out on the radio, whatever, they don't belong to you then either, because the listener starts to have their own relationship with them.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the amazing thing about music and the way it connects with people, because my experience of what I, went through and the creation of that concept would be a completely different connection to it than the listener. They might, think of a time in their life and relate it to that. And yeah, it does become the listener's song.
In my own case, your previous single, Run Out of Road, was a song I came to have and still have a very close relationship with, because it was released during the Sydney lockdown. I mean, Victoria was also in lockdown last year in 2021, and it was winter. It was pretty gloomy on all fronts. And then this song came out, and I remember hearing it thinking, oh, that is just the perfect pop song. And it wasn't necessarily because of its lyrics, even though the idea of getting in a car and just, taking off was exciting. But there was just something about it, and it became a song where if I was going for a walk on our, allocated exercise limit sort of thing, I would always play it, because it would just put me in a great mood. So for me, that song, even though it came out at a time when things were quite bad, I always have a positive relationship to it. And so whenever I want to smile, I'll put it on, even now, even today.
Oh, that is so amazing to hear. Thank you. When I hear things like that, a personal connection to something that I've created, like that just makes it all worth it. And it's funny, that song, I had other songs that could have been released, but I settled on that song because of that reason. I thought people just need to be lifted up and taken away from everything that's going on right now. And, I kind of challenged myself to not write doom and gloom songs on Zoom. I was like, this is not happening. I'm like, I want to be writing, happy songs. And even if it's not, how the world is right now, I wanted to make people feel like they could escape it for a bit. So I'm really glad that it did that for you, at least. That's amazing.
Well, absolutely did. And obviously for other people as well, because I know you got quite a lot of radio airplay for that song.
Yeah, that's always really nice. Like, you don't know what to expect when you release songs, and the way that the industry changes every 5 minutes, you can't keep up. It's just like, okay, this song might get played because of this, and it won't get played because of this and that and whatever. But I was really, happy with the response and the support of radio for that song. Yeah, it was awesome.
And you had a lot of radio success with Memphis T-shirt, which was out in 2019. So I would imagine, there would be a little bit of pressure to think, oh, I've got to come up with something that will get played. But as you said, you can't ever really know what's going to take off.
No, and I didn't know for Memphis either. Like with Memphis T-shirt, it was quite literally a song I wrote about a T-shirt that I bought in Memphis. And I was over in Nashville writing, and it was, halfway through the trip, and I went to Memphis with some friends, and the next day I didn't know what I was going to write that day, but I put on this T-shirt and I started singing, Memphis on my mind, humming the melody in the Uber on the way to the session, because I'd just been to Memphis. And I walked into the session, had never written with Emily and Karen Kozowski, and we just wrote this song together, and it felt personal to us. We felt like it was exciting, but I did not expect that it would do what it did at all.
What was I going to say? I completely forgot what question I was going to ask, Melanie. No, I think it was actually to go back to Run Out of Road. I saw on your social media that you had posted some voice memos from the time that you were writing the song, and they're all clearly labeled with parts of the song. And it was really interesting, in fact, fascinating to see that part of your process. And it looked like you actually really organized in terms of how you keep your voice notes around songwriting. So I was wondering if you keep files like that for each song you write.
Oh my gosh, it may have looked organized, but I seriously need to find like 15,000 hours to sit there and go through my voice memos. Like most of them are titled, like, it might be Memphis T-shirt bridge or Memphis T-shirt verse idea or melody idea. And they're all labeled and there's thousands of them, but they're just taking over my phone space and I need to go through them.
Well, yes, because I'm sure there will be more to come and you will need that phone space. You also showed a clip from the studio when you were recording that song. And I was wondering if you enjoy the recording process as much as the writing process.
I love it. Yeah, I do actually, just as much. I think it depends, like it changes, it chops and changes all the time between what I love the most, like writing, recording, or being on stage. But there's something really cool about the mechanics of like producing a song and bringing, what you have in your mind into a real thing and creating a sound for what was just in your head, and also bouncing off people and finding a happy place, that suits everybody in the room, and just, yeah, that it's a really cool thing. And just getting into, the vocal booth and really putting all your energy into something and knowing that it's literally gonna survive for the rest of time. It's like, I love that process because you're just trying to challenge yourself to do the best, possible recording that you can. And I think it's a really cool thing, actually, recording. I do love it.
And when you say surviving for the rest of time, of course, now that songs are on streaming, they are around forever. Whereas before, when they were recorded on an object, some people might put them away and not listen to them again. So it's changing all of our relationship with music, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. You can access anything at any time. And yeah, you kind of have to remember that with anything that you put out. But yeah, it's amazing that music, can be accessed by everyone all over the world, and they don't have to go and buy a physical CD that's probably going to get cracked and scratched and left under the car seat. It's, like available at the click of a button. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It also enables the creation of playlists, which we love. So
Totally.
Now you recently won an APRA AMCOS Professional Development Award. Congratulations. And I imagine that was highly competitive.
Oh, it's a tough, it's a tough one, but it was amazing to get recognized in the first place, even to just get in the finals, the final five. Within the country category. I'd been trying for a few years, so it didn't come easily. I've been writing my applications and applying for this professional development grant for 3 or 4 years. So it was my third time being a finalist, and I had all my fingers and toes crossed, and I was so grateful to be announced as the winner. Like up against Casey Barnes, Brad Cox, Greta, like everybody that was in there deserved it. And it was just really cool to be recognized by APRA AMCOS for being, a songwriter that deserves to be encouraged and supported. That was really great. But then B, financially, it's very, very helpful at this time.
Absolutely. Now you have a Tamworth show booked in, so Tamworth Country Music Festival in April, I should state. But I also noticed you're playing at the opening concert on the night of April the 18th. So when was your first Tamworth Country Music Festival?
Oh, I was very young. I think I had actually gone over to Tamworth and just sort of watched the festival when I was probably 10, I think, was the first time. Mum and Dad may have dragged me there earlier than that. We had some family in Tamworth, but I think my earliest memories are about 10 or 11. And I started out at Tamworth in Camerata, which was the junior academy. It used to be called Camerata. And I attended that when I was 11, and then again when I was 12. And then I did the senior one when I was 16, I think. So I did it 3 times, but I think I remember being about 10 or 11, and I was doing the Big Bush Brekkie shows with Jim Haynes, who is still my very good friend. Jim and Robin are just the best. I love them so much. And yeah, I was well into it when I was a little kid.
Well, I'm going to that opening night concert, so I'll get to see you perform live for the very first time, which I'm excited about, and for the whole festival, excited because it's actually happening. But Melanie,
totally.
Also greatly looking forward to seeing what comes out of your songwriting and your recording over the next few months and years. So thank you very much for speaking with me.
Oh, thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you at Tamworth, and you'll have to come along to my headline show on the Friday as well. So we'll hook that up.
Okay. Well, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sophie. Bye.
Bye.